All right, if you're a React developer, you're going to want to listen to this. The whole landscape is always shifting. We know that. But something huge just happened, right inside the official React documentation. And honestly, it kind of redefines how we're all supposed to be building React apps from here on out.
And this is the sentence that basically sent a shockwave through the community. I mean, think about it. This isn't some hot take from a blog post or a tweet. This is coming straight from the React team themselves. They're officially saying that the old way, firing up Create React app, is just not the recommended path anymore.
So, okay, if we're not supposed to use plain React, then what are we supposed to use? Well, the docs point us directly to what they call production-grade React frameworks. And guess which one is sitting right at the top of that list? Yep, Next.js. This is a massive endorsement, and it really signals a major shift in thinking.
And that leads to the big question, right? Why? Why this sudden change of heart? Well, it turns out it's because frameworks like Next.js are specifically built to tackle some of the most common, most frustrating headaches that we all run into when we're trying to build real, serious applications with React.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are these so-called headaches that Next.js just magically solves? Let's break down a few of the most critical ones, starting with something that every single web app needs to have.
Okay, just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got the old way. You npm install React Router DOM. You go into your code, you set up a router component, you define all your routes. You know the drill. It's a bunch of boilerplate. Now look at the Next.js way on the right. You want a new page? You make a new folder. That's it. The routing is built in, it's based on your file system, and it just works. It's so much more intuitive.
And it's not just about making things easier, it's also about performance. In a plain React app, you have to manually set up something called code splitting. That's what makes sure your users only download the JavaScript they need for the page they're actually looking at. It can get pretty complicated, but with Next.js, it's just automatic. It handles all of that for you, right out of the box. So your app feels snappier with literally zero extra effort from you.
Now, this next point, this might be the most important difference of them all. It's all about where your app turns from code into a visible web page. Does it happen on your user's phone or computer, or does it happen on a server before it even gets to them? Because this one choice changes absolutely everything.
So the standard Create React app approach is called client-side rendering. Think of it like this. The server sends your browser a nearly blank page and a giant JavaScript file. Your browser then has to download that file, figure out what it says, and then build the entire page from scratch. All of the hard work happens on the user's device, which can be slow. Next.js flips that script. It defaults to server-side rendering. In this world, the server does all the heavy lifting up front. It builds the complete, final HTML page before it sends anything over. So what does the user's browser get? A fully formed, ready-to-go web page. It can display it instantly. The difference in how fast a page feels is just night and day. Okay, so it feels faster for the user. That's awesome. We love that. But there is another, arguably much bigger reason why this whole server-side thing is a total game changer for any serious project out there. And it all comes down to three little letters. SEO. Yep, search engine optimization. If you want people to find your site on Google, this is a really, really big deal. You see, when a search engine crawler like Googlebot visits a typical React site, it sees that blank HTML page we talked about. It might not stick around to wait for all the JavaScript to load and run. And if it can't see your content, it can't rank you. But with server-side rendering, that crawler gets a fully cooked page full of content. This leads directly to more organic traffic, a better user experience, and let's be honest, a massive competitive advantage in search results. But the advantages don't even stop there. On the front end, Next.js also completely changes the game for how you build your backend. It kind of blurs the line between front-end and backend in the best way possible. This feature is just brilliant. Let's say you need a backend API to talk to your database or handle a form. Normally, you'd have to create a whole separate server project, maybe using something like Express.js. With Next.js, you just create a file in a special API folder. Boom. That file is now a secure server-side API endpoint. Your entire application, front-end and back-end, lives together in one project.
And hey, don't just take my word for how huge this is. Listen to this. Lee Robinson, who's the VP of Developer Experience over at Vercel, that's the company that makes Next.js, he shared this absolutely wild statistic from a real-world project. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Over 20,000 lines of code. Not rewritten, not refactored, just deleted. Gone. That's what happens when a framework handles all that complex server setup and configuration for you. It's an unbelievable leap in productivity. So, with all these incredible features, file-based routing, server rendering, built-in APIs, you might be starting to think, oh great, do I have to throw away everything I know and learn some completely new thing? And the answer is a huge, emphatic no. This is the most important part to understand. Next.js is not a replacement for React. It is built on top of React. It takes the React you already know and love and just wraps it in a powerful, production-ready structure.
Think of it like this. All that annoying, tedious stuff you have to do to set up a real app, all the Webpack config, setting up a router, optimizing for performance with code splitting, figuring out server rendering, building a separate API, Next.js just does it for you. It's all automated. And because it handles all that boilerplate, it frees you up to spend your time and your brain power on what actually matters, building the cool features and the killer UI that makes your app special. You get to spend way more time creating and way less time configuring.
So really, the final takeaway here is a question for you. When the very team that builds React is pointing you towards a tool that automates all the hard, boring parts of web development, it really makes you think, what amazing features could you build? How much faster could you launch your next big idea with all of that time and energy back in your hands?